How do I train myself to be consistent? How do I train myself to be consistent? Have you ever found yourself asking yourself this question? Let's look at this scenario. Let's say you woke up today and you're trying to do something that you've been wanting to do the last few days, but still you can't stay consistent every other day, every single week, or every other day or every other week. You find yourself asking this question, why am I not consistent? Right? And you find yourself beating yourself up for not being consistent. Have you ever found yourself in a situation like that? Personally, I have found myself in situations like that where I've really wanted to be consistent and I've really wanted to do a few things, but I didn't really bring myself to do that, or I never understood the science behind staying consistent. Right? So in this video today, this is what we're going to talk about. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Felix Kabby, and in this video, I'm going to be your host. This is episode number 5, and I'm really excited to share this topic with you guys. As we all know, like human weakness, this is one of the human weaknesses. Staying consistent and trying to finish a task is a kind of a disease that pretty much every human being has suffered with at some point, and it's something that has a science behind it, whereby if you understand the science of staying consistent, then you have a hand. You find yourself accomplishing tasks, right? And eventually, the more you do it, this becomes second nature. So this is what I want to talk about in this video, and I'm going to share my experiences as well. I'm going to ask you guys what you guys' thoughts are and what your experiences are in regards to staying consistent or completing a task. So how do I train myself to stay consistent? How do I stay consistent? Before I even get into that, let me share a quote with you guys. Now, this quote, I found it to be very interesting, and I'm going to share with you all. So here it is. This is what the quote is. It says, "It's not what we do in a while that shapes our lives. It's what we do consistently. It's not what we do once in a while that shapes our lives. It's what we do consistently," by Anthony Robbins, right? Now, a lot of times we find ourselves doing things once in a while, right? And then we get distracted, or we haven't really developed that nature, or we haven't developed that habit of doing things consistently, right? And like I said, you find yourself beating yourself up for not staying consistent, or you ask yourself, why am I not staying consistent? How can I be consistent? So in my experience, this is what I'll say. Now, if you have big enough reason to do something, sometimes you might have big enough reasons to do something, but if you don't have the habit of staying consistent, you might get distracted when something comes along the way, right? So how I operate is, and what I recommend is always, like, once you understand your vision, you have that motivation to do something, come up with a plan to back that motivation up, because it's the plan that is going to help you stay focused. It's the plan that you're going to follow step by step. Now, inside the plan, there's so many things involved in the plan. I'll discuss that in the next video, but understand that once you create that plan, and the plan, of course, will guide you, right? Will guide you through. Once you have that plan, then the next thing you want to do is make sure that every single day you have a list of activities that you have to do that will allow you to be able to, focus on that task, right? Because my understanding of consistency is that consistent is repeated action over time, right? Whereby you keep doing something every single day, you keep showing up. Whether you're feeling good or you're feeling bad, you just keep showing up, right? And the more you show up for yourself, the more you do something, the easier it gets. And over time, all this compounds, and before you know it, it's going to becomes a habit whereby you don't even have to think about it. You just find yourself doing it, right? Now, the initial stages of doing something is the hardest part, right? The initial stages of doing something is the hardest part. So how do you take yourself from not staying consistent to staying consistent, right? My second point is this. It's always a good idea to have someone who can hold you accountable, or someone you can hold them accountable. Let's say if you're on a project or you're doing something and you're working either with a team or with a friend or a group of people, right? Now, if you all are on the same mission, like you can all help each other stay on task, right? You can help one another focus on the things that you guys want to accomplish, right? When you look at Rome, they say Rome wasn't built in one day, right? Rome was built due to consistent actions. They did something consistently. Imagine if the people who built Rome decided to say, oh, I'm going to build Rome today, and then I want to take a week off, or I want to take a year off, 1 year off, and then come back the next year and continue building. Right? Your dream is the same thing too, right? Consistent is the key. Consistent is one of the secret ingredients that you need to incorporate in whatever it is that you do. Now, point number 3, how do I train myself to be consistent? Now, the other way that I train myself to be consistent is really simple. I kind of mentioned it earlier, but it's just by showing up, right? Having that motivation and then showing up. I say the more you show up, the easier it gets, right? So make sure that you show up every single time for yourself. Now, building a habit, building activities that will, or developing ways of operation that will allow you to focus on that task will make it easy for you to stay consistent, right? Now, the other point I want to mention is this. Oftentimes, when we go to bed at night, right? When we go to bed at night, if you're not trained on this, or if you don't train yourself planning your days ahead of time, right? Like filling your calendar ahead of time. I was speaking to a friend the other day and they told me that the way somebody operates is that if you have your calendar full, right, you don't even have to think. You just go by the calendar, right? Because you already know at 10 a.m. I have to do this. At 2 a.m. I have to do this. At 3, 4, 5 p.m. this is what I have to do. Is that level of commitment, is that level of planning that will make the things easier for you, right? So ask yourself, what actions are you going to take to guide you and to train yourself towards staying consistent? What actions will you implement? Like, how are you going to structure your day? How are you going to structure your life so that everything you do will lead towards you staying consistent? As we all know, there's always distractions in life, right? Could be good distractions, could be bad distractions. But then again, as I was saying, having that goal is going to make all the difference. Now, in regards to distraction, let's say if you're not an entrepreneur and you don't work from home, then it means you probably do a 9 to 5. And when you're doing a 9 to 5, you could wake up in the morning, go do your work. When you come back home, you're probably tired and you're not going to want to stay consistent, right? Something that I heard from someone that I consider a mentor, they said, one of the biggest things that makes a difference in people's lives is, again, being able to show up. Sometimes people let showing up to perform a task or showing up to do something is dictated by how they feel, right? Let's say if you feel good today and you're like, yes, I'm feeling good, so I'm gonna go do some work. Or I'm not feeling so good today, I'm not in the mood, therefore I don't want to go do any work today, right? Notice these two patterns dictates the outcome of your success. As you see here on this saying, what Tony Robbins has said, is not what we do once in a while that shapes our lives. It's what we do consistently, right? It's what we do consistently. So how you feel dictates what you do. But when you train yourself to stay consistent regardless of how you feel, then you'll find that you will be able to accomplish a lot more. Let's say I didn't feel like shooting this video today. I would have easily said, I'm not feeling it, so I'm just gonna relax and not shoot a video, right? But I have to push myself. I have to push myself to show up, regardless for how I feel, show up and get this task done and move on to the next thing, right? I remember a while back, a few years back, we did a video challenge, a 30-day video challenge whereby you take your camera and then you record yourself live on Facebook Live, right? You record yourself, and that was to help you get out of your fears. That was to help you train yourself to be more confident in front of the camera, right? It was to train you so that you have no fear when it comes to talking to a screen or talking to that thing on the camera, right? Because fear is something that we all make up in our head, right? And fear is something that we can train ourselves to be consistent about. Let's say, for example, there's certain things that will trigger you to be afraid, right? Understanding these triggers, understanding how you've trained yourself to allow these fears to come into your life, right? Again, it all comes down to consistent. We can be consistent in a good way, or we can be consistent in a bad way, right? Consistency, sometimes we do things consistently, and it could be something really bad that we are doing. But because we've done it so many times, it becomes a habit, right? So how do you train yourself out of that? The other point I want to make is how to train yourself is being aware, developing a sense of awareness. Now, awareness can be a whole topic of its own, but once you begin to develop that awareness, you'll come to realize that, now that I'm aware of these bad habits that I've done consistently over time, right, and it's become your way of life, and it's affected how far you've gone in life or how far you've succeeded, right? Developing that sense of awareness is one way to train yourself to be consistent. Now, as I was saying, the video challenge we did, right? Everybody who was involved in this challenge, I believe they did an outstanding job of just developing that confidence of being able to just take that risk and take that chance and just record a video, right? And over the course of 30 days, there was so much confidence that came out of that. Now, we ask ourselves why and how did that happen? Was it by accident or was it engineered, right? When you engineer things in a certain way to get a certain outcome, and you do that consistently, that becomes your way of operation, and that habit in itself, that consistency allow you to get a result, right? So confidence will come from being consistent, developing that sense of awareness, coming up with a plan, right? Having people who you're on the same journey with who can hold you accountable will help you master how to be consistent. Now, to be a master, somebody said, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe it's 10,000 hours. You need to put in 10,000 hours into something for you to be that great, right? There are certain things you don't need to put 10,000 hours. But as you strive towards 10,000 hours, preferably strive towards 10,000 hours of practicing one thing, right? Do you need to practice? Do you need to put in 10,000 hours to learn how to be consistent? Ask yourself that. You do not need 10,000 hours. You just need to stay consistent over time. But like I said, the more time you put into something, 10,000 hours, 20,000 hours, the better, the greater you become at it. So in this video, this is all I wanted to talk about in this video, guys. Ladies and gentlemen, how do I train myself to be consistent? Like I was saying, for me, I've made mistakes in the past whereby I've learned from it, and learning from your mistakes is another way of being aware, right? Like when you allow yourself to develop that sense of awareness, you begin to understand these things, right? So one, learn to develop a plan. Learn to develop a plan, because it's the plan that will guide you, and it's the plan that will allow you to stay consistent. Number two, plan your day ahead of time. When you plan your day ahead of time, when you go to bed and you wake up the next morning, you'll have no excuse not to do what you're supposed to do, right? And then I said, develop that sense of awareness as well. Once you become aware of how you operate the things you do, you begin to see that there's certain patterns, good patterns and bad patterns. And you want to start eliminating all these bad patterns one at a time. And then the last point, what was the last point? Last point was surround yourself with people who are on the same journey as you. People who want to get to that level of success, people who want to achieve things in their life, regardless of whatever it is you're working on. Consistent is the same word, that same word, same meaning. It can be applied to any aspect of your life, right? So get out there, start doing things, engineer how you operate, engineer the activities you do so that you can achieve desired outcome, right? So this is my morning message today. Get out there, stay consistent, be aware, find people, surround yourself with who can push you, right? Plan. And there's a lot of other things, activities that you can do to help you be more consistent. So this is my message for today. If you enjoyed this episode, remember to like, subscribe, and share this video. And I'll see you in tomorrow's video. This is Felix. Really excited to see your journey. Really excited for you guys to join us on this journey as well, so that we can do amazing things all together, right? Amazing things. So thanks for tuning in. This is Felix. I'll see you in tomorrow's video. Stay blessed. Go out there. Knock those goals out. Right? Be the best you can do. Be the best you can be, and elevate your life. Speak soon. Cheers.